Episode number 1. Beginning of the Journey of Naked Core Soul Instinct, September 3rd, 1945. Tragedy and beginning of the journey of Naked Core Soul Instinct began. My father was working in Postal Department of Japanese Occupational Government in Manchuria. End of Pacific War was broadcasted by Japanese Emperor on August 15, 1945. Japanese largest army forces occupying Manchuria immediately started to evacuate and return to Japan without following through and helping government workers and civilians who had been helping the Japanese government. Following this announcement, on September 2, 1945, USA and Japan officially signed the Unconditional Surrender Agreement between Allied forces headed by General Douglas MacArthur and Japanese official delegates representing Japanese Emperor on board battleship USS Missouri in Tokyo Bay, Japan. My father was working to prepare fellow government workers to send them back to Japan without any protection from Japanese army. Despite the war was over and officially signed to end according to international agreement, Russian army started to invade Manchuria and created chaotic situation. Encouraged by this unlawful acts, local Manchurian got encouraged for riots and began to hunt for Japanese citizens. Rather than protecting my family, my father headed back to the office to help his subordinates and got killed on the street of Changchun, Manchuria by Chinese mob on September 3, 1945. My mother received this news and was asked to be at the site and identify heavily beaten father as her husband. From that moment, my mother stood on her own 2 feet and supported my family of my sister and myself surviving for life. I was merely 9 months and 3 days old. The picture attached must be taken shortly before this incident, and to date I hope my father had a chance to see this picture before he was killed. What I am writing this episode is based on what my mother later told me. I remember my mother never shed tears while telling the story of this incident and 3 years of refugee survival days in Manchuria. As a boy, I felt her sense of self-pride achieving what she believed to carry forward the life received from dear husband. She said to me, "Your father was a wonderful and kind person. You carry his soul, and I committed myself to survive you as token of your father as long as I can survive myself." From that day of September 3rd, 1945, my mother had to put up Japanese futon against all the windows of house, preventing any flying bullets penetrate our house. Later of that month, Japanese survivors was gathered to nearby village and started refugee camp life, waiting for chance of returning to Japan. For the 3 of us, my sister, mother, and myself, the food supply was merely a cup of sorghum a day. My mother boiled it, and the supernatant liquid became substitute for my milk, which no longer became available from my mother due to acute malnutrition condition we had to live. Due to her and my father's kind good nature, Manchurian servants and maids, who used to work for our family, occasionally brought some food for us to survive. Being wise, my mother, she made Japanese cake for survivors in exchange of money and goods for us to survive extremely cold winters of Manchuria. We cuddled and held each other to sleep together to keep ourselves warm during severe winters. My mother held me close to her naked chest to keep me warm throughout cold, cold winter seasons. One by one, rich family could get on the freighter car headed to Dalian Harbor, where cargo ship carried refugee back to Sasebo Harbor of Kyushu, Japan. Followed by family with strong mail could get on the freighter car. We were weak. Poor family without help of mail always kicked back and kept losing chance to get on freighter car.